Hi, everyone. Hi, Barbara. Welcome back to our LinkedIn Live conversations. Today, we're going to talk about mindful leadership and how it helps you replenish your energy and how it helps set you up to be able to navigate challenges with clarity and connected to your purpose. Phew, and Barbara, I just feel as we're landing here, these are challenging times, and that probably I'm not alone in feeling that stress and pressure. There's this idea that feels very draining for me that my brain is kind of busy, not only worried about the normal things about my work and my life, but larger world concerns. And so there can be a tendency, a lot of chatter. It's feeling very draining. And so
Yeah,
we're very excited to talk about this today.
yeah. I love this topic too for the current times, just that you're talking about. There's a lot going on outside of our own little bubble of life, our teams, our business, our lives in that state. There's so much going on and a lot of change. One of the things we're talking about today is how to face some of those changes gracefully. And truly, it's almost like a lot that's going outside of us in the environment of really the world is a lot of people activity, a lot of personalities, a lot of people interacting. And so anchoring ourselves in a better way to be mindful of how we can move through times like this and stay anchored in peace and confidence is so important for our part.
Yeah. So I've been leaning extra heavy on one of my favorite teachings, the power of the pause. And it really is the start of what we teach for mindful leadership, meaning like getting the pause and practicing the pause and connecting to yourself is the beginning step of getting to that empowered place that's available with a mindful approach. There's more to build on there. So I was wanting you to share a little bit about how we shift our energy.
What you do in the pause matters too. The fact that we pause is so essential and a necessary habit. But taking that pause to shift inward, to be aware that as a human, as a whole person, there's a lot going on inside. And when we can connect more deeply within ourselves, being present in the moment, then taking a deep breath, stepping outside in nature, really making that shift for our minds to be thinking inward. How am I doing now? There's a great quote from Ram Dass, which is basically, where are you? Here. What time is it? It's now. That's the essential shift in
Mm.
that pause that makes a huge difference. It gets your thinking connected to grounded in your body in the present moment, and you can discern then calming your emotions and really do some process that you can build a habit for to be able to be anchored in that present moment, peaceful place. And even under stress and strain, that peaceful place inside us, that inner wisdom, that way to discern what we most need and what we can most do in the moment is always available to us in that pause. But we have to shift inward in that pause.
Yeah. It has me thinking recently because where I find that my mind gets extra busy wanting to figure out all the problems and challenges. And in that pause and just thinking this through with what you were sharing, Barbara, it reminded me of something we worked on and learned at the University of Santa Monica, of which is where both you and I went to school and have in common, is that idea of walking from your head down into your heart. Do you remember that? How you go inward
Mm.
and you visualize and you walk down sort of a ladder, for taking the energy from your mind, instead connecting down to your heart and solar plexus area. I think that I have to do that like 5 to 10 times a day at least, because my mind has just been extra busy. And I feel like the challenge today that we all face is that there's a lot of information, a lot of content from everywhere. We're creating content in this moment. We're creating information for people to absorb. And there's content and information coming at us a lot. And so taking these mindful pauses and building this habit. And I just wanted to share with people that you can really visualize and walk yourself down from having the energy just be so busy up in your mind to, with your breath, then bring it down and connect to your heart. This mindful approach can help replenish your energy. That mind drain is just that, it's so draining. So connecting to the heart and breathing there. And what was the Ram Dass quote again?
Where are you? Here.
Sure.
When is it? Now.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a very helpful way to remind yourself, right here,
Right now.
now, and then I'm safe just in this moment right now.
Yeah, yeah. So I love the image of the ladder walking down. I had forgotten about that, but that it's so great to have solid imagery. It is the breath that can take us there because it's our bodies that are present, our physical body. And we're really working at disciplining our mind in this shift because
Mm,
our mind is busy serving us all the time, thinking, but wandering around and making up stories and assumptions and going past future. We're disciplining our mind with that pause and that bringing your mind to the heart center. And I love that you also included the solar plexus, which is that center of power, our own empowerment, anchoring through that the compassion for ourselves and our own power within whatever is happening. That place of not feeling like it's all just happening and we're powerless is really replenishing in a lot of ways. We spend a lot of energy resisting what's going on, fearing what's going on, and imagining all kinds of things that aren't part of the reality. That's
yeah,
exhausting.
very. Very. So that's why we know that the mindful leadership tools that we teach, if you apply them and practice them, you actually do get your energy replenished. You have to be mindful to practice them to make a different choice than letting your mind and your fears and your worry and the voice of self protection run the show. The other thing, I think, when you're working in business and you're on a team, I want people to be aware self protection is our default human hardwiring. It is supposed to be there to protect us from immediate physical danger. So we can detect a threat before we even really know what's happening and run away. One of the challenges we face today is that people's self protection is being activated just by this very loud outer environment we're living in. And you may see in your team self protective behaviors showing up in others just because of the reality that this is challenging times and it's very hard to keep yourself good and centered at all times. And then you have your regular family and life challenges and your regular role responsibilities and timeline pressure and projects that go a little different than we planned. And all of that is happening while your team is under greater challenge than normal, potentially. So, when we see self protective behaviors in others, what are we supposed to do, Barbara?
First, take a breath and shift inward for yourself so that you can anchor and be a leader in peace, someone who can stabilize the energy of the group. And you can also, from that place, support others in that state. But how you show up matters, and it
Yeah.
can have the influence and impact. You can discern then what's the best way to impact this group or team. I was talking to somebody this morning in a coaching call, and I was thinking when you were sharing, Heather, how teams are also a little under resourced in
Yeah.
current times too, quite a bit, and either trying to push for some goals because things are a little bit different right now, as uncertain in how we get our goals, and also having a leaner team. The conversation we were having fits into how to be a good collaborative team. One, being you can show up being the one who's clear thinking and centered in the moment. That will make a huge difference. And we were talking about how the ones who are most busy get asked the most work. It's like the ones who are getting it done. And we lose the momentum of really thinking about ourselves as a resource and what's the best that we should be applying our energy to, and maybe delegating or not saying yes to some other assignments. And that discernment comes from that slowing down to center, be clear. The more we can calm ourselves and calm the team energy, we can discern the best way to work together so that the frenzy slows down and we can actually just move in a solid way, step by step, which is really how you have to do it in the current times together to achieve the things that you're going for, and for really considering how best to be efficient and effective and optimal performance with good well-being.
Yeah. So I'm hearing it's really important to slow down and be sure you and the team are taking things step by step. I was thinking that through what you were sharing, a lot of our power as leaders comes in how we show up. What are you demonstrating to your team? And I
Mhm.
think that I just want to talk about this a little bit because we don't have to worry about trying to control and change others. We can get energy back from that too if we just worry about ourselves and what am I demonstrating here? If you're able to demonstrate slowing it down, taking it step by step, going to the business goals and going to what we're actually working on right now, today, and then how you're relating to it is going to demonstrate a behavior, demonstrate leadership to your team. And I was reading, and I'm always absorbing more information about leadership because that's the world I love and live in. And Mel Robbins was talking about the importance of consistency. And I think
Mhm.
that dovetails with what I'm trying to say about demonstration. That in this time of greater upheaval and uncertainty, demonstrating just showing up consistently, you may think instead you have to do all these, I don't know, big miracle things or solve all the problems magically. But the truth is, just showing up in self leadership consistently, showing up for your meetings, showing up like with this consistent, focused energy, just working on what we're working on right now and supporting one another. That consistency is very powerful. Just that.
Mhm.
It really can help equalize things. It adds a lot of safety for you and the team. And I think that's what's really, really needed now.
It's again bringing it back to training our minds to center and connect within ourselves so that we have that solid anchor. Because otherwise, if you're following your mind untethered,
Hmm.
it's hard to stay consistent.
Yeah, it is. The other thing, Barbara, you mentioned was teams having less resources at the moment. Maybe they have less team. They're trying to do more with less team. They're having different and challenging results with their ad performance and things like that. So they're facing resource constraints. And one
Mhm.
of the first things that tends to go away when we're feeling the pressure of resource constraints is everybody's self care, because it feels like, no, I'm getting more added to my plate. I have to keep doing more, more, more. And we really, really can't do more well without taking care of ourselves. And the self care tends to be the first thing that just gets squeezed out of our schedule. I wanted to bring it forward too, because you mentioned the less resources. And it's almost like the more you're feeling the pressure of the resource constraints and less time to do all the things, the more intentional you need to be about fitting your self care into your everyday for yourself and for your team. And this is a powerful thing that you can demonstrate. Hey,
Right.
I'm
And
signing
Yeah.
off for a lunch break. I'll be back in 30 minutes. You do something like that, you set yourself, your team up to know that they're allowed to do the same.
Yeah. And even self-care can be how you pace your day. In service to your best performance is self-care. Sometimes it's making sure you have lunch, making sure you step outside to be in nature through the day and not on Zoom and cameras all day, giving your eyes a rest, things like that. But even how do you pace your day? How do you check in? Again, it's like, oh, we're having resource constraint, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. I'm one of those resources. It's me. So, how do we utilize ourselves as a resource that's a human being resource that has different needs? And to be in a role, working on a team, there is a way to anchor and be that presence so that you can navigate the work that you intend to do. And then the pivots and changes that come through the day that the business needs you to consider to work well with the team for new information comes in or whatever. When you find yourself getting a little angry or a little irritated through the day, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, wait a minute. Let me anchor myself inside. There is a place to anchor that can really help you show up in the ways you want and not have that depleted moments where then things are getting edgy for you and then obviously for the team. How you show up is really, really important for, as you said, health and well being and how you're performing and how you're able then to demonstrate and be a model, a mentor and a model for others within your team.
Yeah. And another effective strategy for staying present just in today, looking at your priorities and resorting them, being realistic and resorting priorities, and helping your team members to do the same. If someone is coming to you and they're extra stressed out and their self protection is activated, you might help them pause and ask about what are the things you're focused on working on right now. Make sure what you're hearing they're working on is really what's critically important to the business at this time. If it's not, you can help them reassign that, give a little more space to maybe when they're working on that specific thing, and help them refocus their energy just for what's possible today. And if you have confusion about what you're working on and find yourself in a moment of overwhelm and burnout, this is something you want to bring forward and ask about the priorities and your focus from the person that you report to. It's a good moment to pause and say, hey, I'm working on these things. I hit this kind of snag, and because of it, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Am I working in the right direction if I keep pursuing this, or should I pause and focus on something else? Remember, we have a team, and that's good news because we're not alone. You're not alone to navigate the challenges that you face. Whether you're in a physical office or working remotely, it's important to remember to go and connect to one another and use one another as resources, because often somebody can be more mindful in how they support you, and then that'll help them take their own advice and support themselves.
Absolutely. So, yeah, the more you got to go back to shifting inward, the
Yeah.
more you can connect with others. When you're not connected inside yourself, you're all over the place. It's really hard to make those interactive connections that allows for the teamwork or the consideration of how best to accomplish things together, which is what you're really going for in the business world. Again, coming back, it's, oh, I got to go connect with everybody. First connect here, present now, then you can connect with others and you'll immediately just from that shift, experience a difference, a positive difference. And then the more you work with yourself in discerning from there with those connections inward and in that present moment, there's so much more to elevate your leadership development, or I'd say master leadership in your performance.
Love it. Thank you for sharing with us today, Barbara, how to shift. And we have an exciting new course offering coming up and available on our website on mindful leadership. So if you would like to know more about that program, please reach out in the link below and set up a discovery call. You can talk to Barbara and learn more about how mindful leadership can support you and your team and your business right now. Thank you for your time here today, Barbara. We'll be back with more leadership skills to support you and your team on their journey, because we are empowering leadership teams, and that's what we do, and we love doing it. Thank you for your time and attention here. Have a great rest of your day and take care of you.